Good morning. This is Bill from Europa, Naples, and we're a little tight today with some sandset pavers going in over there. But we're going to go forward. We also have a bird war happening somewhere. I mean, these things are going absolutely bananas. Hopefully they stay where they're at and they don't come here. That said, we do have this 1979 BMW 633 CSI Coupe. This is internally designated as an E24 body. It was the first 6 Series coupe to come from BMW and was the result of an incredible amount of internal debate. BMW found themselves in a pretty good position in the 70s, after having really faced bankruptcy a little bit early on. Their, fleet was aging, if, fiercely loved by a few cultish followers. But, they had upped production, upped quality, and upped profits. They hired Paul Brock, the very famous designer from Mercedes-Benz, who did the Pagoda, amongst other things. And, he penned this car using BMW's early 70s turbo concept car, after, again, a ton of debate internally about the direction BMW would take. The engineers wanted sporty, light driving excitement. The owners wanted, something more akin to Mercedes-Benz with a series of big sedans and big coupes and high-quality production with a less emphasis on sportiness. This thing kind of bridged the gap between the two. If you really had to argue it out, it's probable that the owners won in a way that placated the engineers. So they came up with this very sporty Grand Touring coupe that at the same time is not, light and nimble and exactly what the engineers wanted. So we're also facing a bit of mist this morning. I've given up on trying to fix that. I sit there, I wipe it down, and 12 seconds later it's misty again. So to hell with it. We're just going to go with it. Anyway, you can see the styling of this car is absolutely gorgeous. Very reminiscent of the 3.0 CS that came before it, that pillarless coupe. Everyone loved the pillarless coupe. The problem is it would crush your head like a watermelon if it flipped over. So this car really employed some new safety standards that, were coming to all German cars, the crumple zones, the hard shell protection for rollover, and, other bits and pieces. They also, frankly, did a better job at BMW of integrating the bigger US bumpers into the body. They're much shorter on the European versions, but when you look at these things compared to the 107 Roadster, they are better. You can see that shark nose front end with the kidney grills, really beautiful. Funky looking cornering lights there, the way they mold around the fender. The chrome trim. One thing I really like about this era, this vintage of BMW from the 70s, is that it retained so much of the stuff that was the original sort of 60s concept of BMW. The trim, the knobs, the switches, the controls. It's all very distinctly unique in a way that cars are not today. There's so much, redundancy over all the different models. Sometimes you don't know if you're in a BMW or Mercedes. When you're in this thing, around this thing, driving this thing, you damn well know you're in a BMW. Anyway, let's start inside the trunk. What an incredible survivor this car is. Absolutely stunning. I had to have it the minute I looked at it. Anyway, absolutely enormous trunk. You fit about 12 sets of golf clubs in there, no problem. Nice, variation between deep and shallow and long and short. Just a perfect size trunk. Very, very big, very accommodating. You see we got some original floor mats in there. The jack over there very neatly and properly stowed. Nice fit and finish. Classic BMW. From this era, and of course the sort of signature toolkit here on the top of the trunk, the bottom. You see all the tools are in there nice and proper, no rust. I've opened these things before, they look like it was a swamp and coated with rust and nastiness. This thing's all perfect. Even the foam backing's in good shape, and the little retainer strap is perfect. So, just sort of the theme on this car, that everything works well and everything's been well preserved. Look, even the trunk light comes on. Nice stuff. Have a look under the hood. Now, this thing does have the world's most confusing hood release. You know, I'm sitting there looking at this thing initially thinking, what the hell is this? It was up like that, and I thought, well, obviously that's the parking brake. Well, then what the hell is that? So I did eventually figure out that that was the hood release, and you're supposed to use your foot to close it when it's down. So, and apparently most of those things have been kicked off and beaten to shreds, so nice to see that this one hasn't. Okay, look at this thing under the hood. I mean, we're talking show quality, basically. You go to a BMW show with this thing, people are going to be really eyeing it. You can see everything just nice and lovely. Look at the other side. You get a better view of that engine. Now, this is one of the variants of the M30 Inline 6-cylinder. It's an engine that made BMW famous for potency, smoothness, loveliness, and it fits very nicely in here. And this 79 CSI version is the first fuel-injected version to come to America, and that all works very well and is nice and modern. You can see in typical BMW style, ruby red metallic, nice color on this car. We have 49 state emissions, so be careful out there in California. This thing actually uses a, you know what, it kind of looks like it's been upgraded. A lot of them were. You see a header on there. That looks like a European spec header. And we'll see, because these things came with an EGR reactor style manifold. It was sort of a predecessor to the catalytic converter. And my favorite part of that is it gives you a button inside, a warning light that says reactor. So you drive around, you feel like you're in the hunt for Red October when that thing goes off and it's spiking, the coolant's leaking, everyone's scrambling. Love it. You can see under the hood, I guess the hood light doesn't work, so we're not perfect, but that said, it's got all the nice original foam padding, everything looking just lovely under the hood. And if I'm not incorrect, this is probably going to end up being a European spec distributor as well, bumping the horsepower from the rather paltry US version. So I think they had 194 when they came to these shores, so well before the horsepower wars. Look at the beautiful chrome around the windshield, the beautiful chrome around these very distinct, you know, side windows. Just absolutely lovely, this car. All right, here's one of my favorite parts on this particular example, is how exceptionally original and nice the interior is. Look at those beautiful leather seats in black. I like the gray carpeting. It's in better shape than it looks. All this is fading. It's not dirt. So you move it a different way and it shades properly. You know, lovely original interior. God, the birds, they're coming in. They're freaking out. They're absolutely freaking out. It's like a Hitchcock movie around here. Anyway, I do like the pillarless glass. You do have that much, so when they go down, there's no big clumsy pillar around it. Look at these beautiful door panels. I mean, they could be right out of the 60s from BMW with the little chrome touches. You got your power mirrors here. The fit and finish is just lovely. These great little map pockets. The elastic still works nice. To open it, you put your hand around and pull up. It's sort of like you have to be in the know to operate this car properly, and that's one of the things that makes it cool. It also has these very interesting seats. And again, you know, every car now has the same damn adjustable seats. There's a switch here or the panel there. These things operate so uniquely. And again, hearken to it. Oh, that's offline there. Look at that. It was probably in the photos that way. Doesn't matter. Anyway, it harkens to a time when all the car companies had their distinct features, you know. Thank God for Citroen. They still keep going with that. Look at those rear bucket-style seats. Absolutely lovely. Very, very cool. Little cigarette lighter ashtray in the middle of them. All in great shape. Up top, the headliner. Very, very nice. And again, just unique, very, very cool styling out of this car. Let's hop in. Oh, before we do, I like the aluminum inside the door jamb here. Again, all very, you know, proprietary BMW. That's not the kind of stuff you saw in other cars. And just looks really, really cool. All right, so now we're nicely ensconced in our bucket seat here. You can see that one single driver's side chrome mirror. Beautiful, very vintage. Here's the self-test buttons. I think that was the first time these were in a BMW. When you press that guy down there, they light up to let you know they're working. And there's that fantastic reactor light in the top left. All right, you can see the PRND21 up there. Nobody's going to wonder what gear you're in. I mean, they've made that thing far more enormous than it has to be, but there it is. Also, those classic BMW gauges, they've retained those through the years. They look an awful lot like the gauges in a modern BMW, so that's kind of cool. Also with the orange backlighting. Very unique dash with the little wraparound section here, the vents sort of integrated nicely. These fantastic climate controls that, again, they're just not like this on any other car. Look at the strange fan control here. You got your temp. There's no obvious place to turn the AC on. I don't actually know what kicks on the compressor, if not just the temperature control. You got some kind of a fader or something down here. You got another switch down here. I didn't check into what those did, but there they are. These crazy big buttons for the hazard and rear defrost. Somebody took out the original miserable Blaupunk this thing probably came with at some point and put in this Kenwood. Which is fine. It's period correct and works nice, but I'd probably jab the Blaupunk back in there, even if it's, you know, kind of useless. Sort of an L-shaped shifter handle. Again, a second indicator for a piece. They really want you to know what gear you're in. With that 3-liter 6, this is a 3-speed ZF German automatic transmission. It was an upgrade from prior versions in this car and works really good. You got 4-way window switches here. You got all this lovely little stitched leather stuff, all the way the seats adjust with these big levers and paddles. It's just cool as hell. Up top, you got this great header panel for your sun visors, real vintage rearview mirror. I don't know. I just like this thing. All right, let's go for a spin. All right, there you see that big 6 fires right to life, nice and smooth, very proper. All the gauges come to life as they should. You see, we sure as hell are glowing in the park mode. So, get a little bit of AC going. There we go. So I guess moving it over to cold is what kicks the compressor on. So, the radio, I think it works good. Let's hear that. What do we got? That antenna coming up. Oh, that Pearl Jam? That's a good way to start the day. Here we got a nifty little center console. That'd be a good place to stick. You're not getting a gun in there, but you can probably get a mobile phone. The glove box, I can't reach it, but it's got, you know, what's it got in there? Stuff. And the world's slowest moving sunroof, but it does, at the end of the day, work just fine. All right, it's got Eddie Vedder turned down and go first. I don't know if I have that right. Sometimes I get way off on the music. It could have been the Stone Temple Pilots. All right, so in going with the survivorship that this car has, it also drives fantastically well. You know, it's far from a rocket ship. This thing is, what, about 200 horsepower, particularly if they've Euroized the motor there. Hope the Suburban doesn't. Look at the hitch on that thing. It's like a grappling hook. I think I'd take out the side of the car. So yeah, I mean, so not the most peppy, powerful engine in the world. You know, there were no horsepower wars really going in 1979. In fact, I had a 79 Firebird, a Formula. It was my first car. And, you know, that thing was a bit of a dog for a Firebird, particularly a performance version. I'm sure this was much quicker. God, that Firebird, I didn't love that thing, but I mean, compared to this BMW, it was a piece of crap. I mean, the fit and finish, I mean, if that Firebird were around today, all of this stuff would be falling off. You really have to take into account that this thing is as old as it is and as tight and together as it is. I mean, it's really remarkable. You know, the fit and finish, the build quality of this car is just fantastic. So hammer it, you get a kick down. You know, your head's not thrown back, but it's plenty peppy. It's fine, certainly for a big GT Boulevard cruiser. It does have full independent suspension, so it handles well. I think it's McPherson struts up front, semi-trailing arms in the back. You know, so the engineers did sneak in a fair amount of sportiness to this car. And there it is, just goes down the road real nice. So, look, this is a 79 BMW 633 CSI Coupe, an E24, fantastic vehicle, just an absolutely lovely vehicle to drive. People look at it, they point at it. You know, it's just got that, it's just got the right vibe for, you know, being very classy and at the same time understated, and definitely cool. So you have an interest, give us a call, 239-649-7300, on the web at mercedesexpert.com. Thank you so much for having a look. We appreciate it. We'll see you with the next one. Take care.